Good Stuff podcast. We're trying to talk about the good stuff going on in the community. Today, we're here at the Avalon, as you can tell, hopefully. We're here with Ryan. I'm your host, Derek Schwinn. I'm a real estate professional here in town, and this is my lovely wife. And introduce yourself, sir, if you'd like.
I'm Ryan, the executive director here at the Avalon.
Yeah. So we thought we'd have a conversation about what's going on. So lots going on. The other day you told me, how many was it? Like 45
Oh my gosh.
events since the beginning of the year?
Since the beginning of the year. I don't know what possessed me to go through and count how many we've done, but I just thought that would be fun. So yeah,
Like an important
I mean,
thing.
that's like anything and everything. So comedy shows, concerts, movies, day off, classic cartoons. We've just started doing some sensory events, sensory-friendly events, I should say. It's just all over the place. But, you know, we've only been 4.5 months in of 2024, and to do 45 events, I mean, that's a lot of work. So
What's on the schedule?
coming
How
up.
many? Like how many for the rest of the year?
Oh my gosh.
Like, are you keeping that pace?
Oh yeah, you have to. I mean, I think for relevancy, you have to. For engagement, you have to. And everything for us, and in the performing arts kind of world, or arts and cultural centers, it all kind of leads up to the fall, when the holidays kind of kick off. And I don't know why that is.
I was gonna say, I've always wondered: is it the holidays, or is it the cold? Like, I've always thought of it like high school, college age. Mom got tickets to Broadway stuff when it came to town.
Yeah.
And I would go with her. And
Yeah.
It always just felt like they went hand in glove. Of it's cold, go to a show. Like, but I know it's the opposite for like movies. It was heat, AC. Come inside when it's hot.
Yeah, I guess people, I don't know, in the summer they spend their money on going on vacation and that kind of thing. And then in the fall and the winter, there seems to be thematically a lot of things that people hold very near and dear to their hearts, whether it's movies or songs or plays, musicals, those kind of things, ballet, that kind of become tradition. And so trying to tap into that so that we can continue that here in Marysville and keep people within our own zip code, or even bringing people from outside of Marysville to our town as visitors, to kind of experience not only what the Avalon has, but what the Uptown and surrounding areas can offer is important. So, I'm always planning as just a human for Halloween and Christmas because I love that time of year. But it's kind of ingrained in me too from this side of things as a business model to always be planning for Christmas. So as soon as we're done, I'm planning for the next. And as soon as we're done, I'm planning for the next. So it's a new kind of feeling for the Avalon, in that before it was a little, I think, willy-nilly, let's throw something in when we kind of think of it. And I operate on a year and a half out to get that on the schedule and make sure that we have enough lead time to, A, let people know, but also B, market so that we can pack the house as much as we can.
So while I'm thinking of it, we'll try to revisit it at the end to encourage people to engage. But what's the one way people can stay up to date on that? Like
I
what's
think
coming?
social media is probably the number one way to stay as up to date. I mean,
You have a newsletter, right?
Huh?
You have a newsletter, right?
Yeah, we have an email blast that goes out a couple times a week. The website is always up to date as well. I think it's a little more difficult for somebody to type in www.theavalontheater, spelled the fancy way.org.
Spelled the fancy way, yeah.
That's how we spell it, RE at the end. So yeah, like us on Facebook or Instagram. That's probably the easiest way, and then it can link back.
Best stuff. Sure.
But yeah, we keep it all up to date, and then just the cross promotion of everything else. Ashley's super involved with 4 million things, as you know, and so we try to cross promote those as best we can, because keeping the arts vibrant and alive in our community is just going to help everyone across the board. It might not touch you directly, but it touches you somehow. And so trying to make sure that everybody has some sort of buy-in here at the Avalon is always going to be my mission.
Wonderful. So just like I saw you on your second grade tour the other day,
Yes.
you were talking about the history, and
Yeah.
you were doing really good with the kids, better than I would do. So good job.
Thanks.
But
Thank you.
But so yes, for those that might not be aware, what's the history of the Avalon? What was it? What is it?
Well, as I told the second graders from Edgewood, the Avalon is not old; it's classic, and we don't show old
Same.
movies. Right.
That's what he said.
We don't show old movies; we show classic movies.
There you go.
And I asked them to not call them old people, but call them classic people. And the reason we got to that is because I always ask them to guess what year the building was built.
Oh, sure.
And it's fun to see kids determine what they feel is old. And when they say something like 1989, it's really like a knife in the heart.
And he said something about being sad, and they're like, why does that make you sad? You'll understand one day, kids.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
okay.
Exactly. So the building was built in 1936, and it was built, which I think is so cool, for Marysville to be an arts and cultural center. And so I asked them as well, like, what does that mean to you? A lot of the kids will say, well, it's a place where you do art. It's a place where you do, where you paint. It's a place where you can see things. But then I've had groups that have said it's a place where everybody belongs. It's a place where everybody can go and see something that represents them. And these are second graders, which
That's
I just
crazy.
think is so cool.
Yeah.
And truly, that's, I think, the heart of the mission of what it was in 1936. And, the Avalon's had a big evolution. It kind of just became a movie theater for a while. Look at you.
That was me that time.
A movie theater for a while, and then somehow in this space had 3 screens.
Yeah. How? I don't remember. I mean, I remember I was here then as a kid.
We
but
were just much smaller.
Yes. we were
But I
much
think one
smaller,
of them
yeah.
had like 15 seats
Oh,
in
yeah.
the
Yeah.
theater at that point,
Tiny.
So but to have it saved and the thought behind it, and I wasn't a part of this process, but the thought behind it to bring it back to an arts and cultural center is really cool, especially with the future, those second graders thinking this can and should be a place for everybody.
Place to come.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the brief, nutshell history of this space. It was renovated in 2019, 2021. Did a soft reopening in 2021, and we're kind of in our second season-ish, if you will, right now, and just trucking towards the future. I mean, the possibilities are truly endless in this space. There's definitely limitations, just like with anything and any space that you have. But we're creative, the community's creative, and I can't wait to really see what really becomes the Avalon's brand for not only Marysville and Union County, but Central Ohio.
For sure. And have you seen the old video of like people coming in and out of a show back then?
So cool. I think it's like 38 or 39 or something.
Yeah, right early on, first few years.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the facade go on. I mean, I remember Tim walking around with the tiles of like, here's what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot. Not that I didn't like it, but it's just such a stark difference. And so it's cool to see that facade up there and have that difference and that throwback to when, kind of the gilded age of like just really nice, elegant feel and in a space that's for anybody to come, especially cartoons that are $2 or whatever you guys sell tickets for. So
Yeah.
just all around.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing too. We were talking about this a couple of days ago. For communities to have a space like this, it takes not only community support, but community awareness and buy-in. And for any space like this in any community around the country, around the world, it needs attendance. It needs knowledge. It needs support. It needs
It's a
people
little community.
to talk about positively. And so, I'm really proud that we have those offerings for $2 for day off classic cartoons. I mean, who can't afford? Hopefully, who can't afford that? And I'll tell you, if you can't afford it, I'll pay for it. I mean, I want you to be able to come to the Avalon. But even our normal movie tickets, $8 for a movie. To see a classic movie is still, I think, really, really affordable. Comedy shows for $10.
Yeah.
Our highest ticket price here is $25. I mean, you really cannot beat it with everything else that's
No.
kind of going on around the country. And but to be able to sustain ourselves, we have to have people attend. We have to have people come out and support so that we can keep those low ticket prices for everyone. And I think that that's a misstep, not for Marysville per se, but for everybody. We take places like this for granted and think that it's just going to be here forever. And then that one day you wake up and it's not, and you wonder why. And it's because, well, I haven't supported it in a year. And so I think that would be my biggest challenge to people, is just figure out a way to support the Avalon and different arts and entertainment offerings in our community, because I think you will be sorely disappointed if they're not there one day when you wake up.
Yeah, and it's like a train. You know, it's got to have momentum. You got to build it, and so if it's already going, keep going.
Yep.
Very good.
I think one of the ways the Avalon that you guys have really thought out of the box in a really positive way and bringing people in isn't just in, we're going to bring this great artist or this magician show or a movie, but you've got educational opportunities happening also. Which I think is genius and also much needed, because we clearly have the interest from young people. So maybe talk a little bit about what education looks like in the Avalon space.
Well, I think before we get into arts education, I think kids really are the pathway of education for growth and understanding for adults. And that goes kind of across the board with any kind of social issue that's going on. I mean, you can look at acceptance for issues with sexual orientation or any of those kind of things. And, you know, a lot of times it happens with somebody's kids and they understand, oh, well, that's my kid, so my viewpoint is going to maybe change a little bit. And I think that the same can be said for the arts. My kid is interested in choir or theater or something like that. And so suddenly they're building an audience just by being interested in that. And so here, arts education is huge. I don't need them all to go out and be actors or actresses or dancers or singers. But if they have those fundamentals to know that as they progress in life, that they're going to go and support the high school that they're in and see their musical, or when they're in college, they might be studying science and they're going to go buy a ticket to go see the musical, or they go on vacation and they just support a regional theater or something. I mean, that's really what it's about for me. I mean, if I get one in a lifetime that goes on to do something huge, awesome. But really, it's about cultivating an audience of appreciation and understanding for the arts so that we can continue that. Because, you know, the first thing to go is going to be arts education.
And
for sure.
I'd like to interject as the least artist person here.
Artistic.
Something about art. Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm artistic, but I'm the least.
You are. You're super creative.
Least. I would label myself the least as an artist out of the three of us. But what's the corny saying about our interpretation of life or whatever? But like, that's the reality. And I think going back to it's a space for everybody. To me, I think that speaks to everybody can relate in it, because at the end of the day, it's some sort of representation of life. And so to me, the real benefit from a humanity standpoint is the ability to express yourself, the ability to see something else expressed and relate to people and find that ability. So giving people a window into some education and some appreciation for it, that when they are at college or whatever, being able to find that space and whatever the art is, because, you know, art's whatever you want it to be, being able to have that connection, I think is really a lot of the value that can come holistically out of it, and just that ability for everybody to relate in that. And so
I think the arts were always meant, no matter the discipline. It could be painting, it could be dance, it could be theater, music. It's always been meant, I think, to teach something. Theater, you know, when it was first kind of invented, if you will, they were showing people what the laws of society were, you know? And I think for art to be successful, there needs to be a slice of uncomfortability in it, because it means that the viewer is thinking and they're being challenged in some way. And so even if it's a piece of fluff, like the Nutcracker, I would hope that we would be looking at it as artists as to how can we challenge the viewers that are coming to think about it differently this year, to view it differently this year. And so that's even something, with classic films that I'm trying to do. We try to theme the films and the offerings that we show around either what the month is kind of, themed as now for social media, or, what that month is, whether it's
Women's History
Month or Pride Month or anything. But even Black History Month, you might not see yourself on that screen because you're not a Black individual, but you're still human.
Yeah.
And it's all about the human experience. And so that's really what I'm passionate about, pushing and portraying through the arts. And education's huge in that. And starting with our kiddos between 8 and 14, and knowing that their parents value them and their expression enough to send them here is awesome. Granted, they get a couple of free hours on a Saturday, which I completely recognize as babysitting, which I totally understand. But
So you heard it here, free babysit.
Well, it's not free.
It's not free.
Okay. But it's cool to, at the end of the semester, close your eyes and think, what did that kid look like on day one, and what do they look like now? And it might not be any kind of artistic growth, but I tell you there's growth.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
And thank you. That's what I was trying to get at, is like, it might be the art, but there's always that relatability to the human experience and relatability to others and whatever it is.
Yeah.
Is key. And I think it's vastly needed right now, just in culture, and more connectivity and more relation to one another. And so,
well, we're teaching kids. I mean, even in class, Ashley has taught in our Arts Academy class and teaches the adults with our ballroom class, which is hugely successful. I think partly because it's Ashley, partly because people want something to do to escape their monotonous life, every week. But even in our young class, we'll stop the art part because somebody's hurt somebody's feelings, and we need to talk about it, and we need to figure it out. And it might not be important to you, but it's important to me that you apologize to that person, and that person gets to communicate why their feelings are hurt, and then we can move on. And hopefully that's creating better people. Better people. So,
and I think at a young age, teaching them that art holds a space where they get to be share the parts of them that are uniquely theirs.
Yeah.
In a way that they're going to be celebrated for. It gives them something that they can always kind of turn to as a healthy outlet of expression.
Yeah.
And just this kind of nugget of safety of this is a thing, or can be a thing. It doesn't matter where I go. I can take that with me, but I can use that to express myself in a safe way, and even better, a way that's going to be celebrated. And man, that's invaluable. And if they learn that at a tiny age, think about how much healthier of a teen they're going to be, or a young adult they're going to be. And being able to relate, as you said, to others. I mean, there's so many times as parents of little ones that we're having to work through, emotions between sisters, or that might have been how you felt, but that's not how she felt.
Right.
And so, I think this is a really great tool to help people see others as people first.
Yeah.
And recognizing that, boy, do we need that in a big way.
How long has the Academy been around?
technically this is our 8th season.
Yeah.
We're kind of a, I don't know, we are kind of a,
Not sure the best word for it.
I don't know the best word
Legacy
for it, but
brand, so
kind
to
of
speak.
a legacy studio. Yeah, like the studio I grew up in, a lot of those same teachers and students then were at a different studio, and then that's the studio I purchased. So it's kind of like,
Got it.
you know, but
So, I mean,
yeah,
loosely speaking, you could say, I mean, geez.
I don't know. I grew up dancing there.
Well, you grew up dancing there, and
Yeah.
Mim took classes locally, and so, she
Yeah.
got it. So there's like a lineage
Decades.
of
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
whatever,
yeah,
of that kind of stuff being passed down.
Yeah.
yeah.
But kids
But,
feel at home there.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have parents who I grew up dancing with.
Yeah.
So like,
And
you
she's
know.
told me a handful of stories of kids saying, "Thanks for letting me be here."
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yes, they do.
And my
Yeah.
point to that is like, I had a girl in class as we were working as a group through an issue, say, "This is my second home."
Yeah.
And for me as an educator, in that moment, I didn't even think that was possible in just 2 short semesters. It's not even
Sure.
been a year,
Sure.
but for them, it's been a
Yeah.
lifetime.
Yeah.
It's been
It is though as a kid,
right,
Yeah.
and it's been something that's already made such a difference. And so, yeah, it's cool. It's rewarding. Education it's huge.
Well, and it's definitely people don't know, or especially kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That whole
yeah.
saying, I mean, you've got to start with that, seeing people as human and caring about them
Yeah.
before they're really gonna let you educate them.
So I guess in a nutshell, we do really cool education things here at the Avalon.
Bring
There you
that
go.
back
for
around.
kids and adults.
Kids and adults, because
Yeah,
that was really
yeah.
important too. I
Yeah.
think, a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm out of high school or I'm out of college and
That's
I'm
it.
never going to learn anything else. And, my challenge every day is to wake up and learn something, because why do I need to wake up if I'm not going to? So we offer a variety of classes. We're still kind of figuring out what that, I wouldn't say rhythm is, but what that like right secret sauce is for
Sure.
And
the,
once you do, it'll change. So
right for the adults. I will tell you
yeah.
what works is ballroom. So hopefully we don't have to change that. It was so successful the first semester that we ended, and we listened to those that took it. They said we want it twice a month instead of just once a month, and that's
Yeah.
what we're doing. And I think that they get a little bit more consistency with that. But
Yeah.
we're teaching improv for adults. We want to look at doing some more like technical things. Maybe it's film, maybe it's podcasting, things that you and I were talking about. You may not think that the arts or those kind of pieces of technology are important, but you're
Critical.
running a small business or you're doing something and you're going to have to upload it to Facebook or Instagram. Guess what? You need to know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
And there is an artistic side to that.
just the
Yeah.
simplicity of telling a story in a way that somebody might want to watch,
Yep.
whether or not you got a fancy camera or
An
an
iPhone.
iPhone.
Yeah.
Or even just your mouth being able to communicate. They say everybody's a salesperson because you're always trying to convince or persuade whatever you're doing.
Yep.
It's your version, and you're trying. So
And that's probably another
Crafting.
class we'll offer is some sort of public speaking.
That's a
eh,
great
Um,
idea.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Because
It is kind of. I'm not used to this being up here on the lights, and it's kind of odd.
oh, it's like home.
I know, right?
I got up here, and that's what I thought. I'm like, oh, this is probably normal for you, but not for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've been performing since you were 4, and I don't know your background, but it sounds like you've done enough too. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's I'm usually the guy in the back.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird, but public speaking, yes. What are not top 2 fears? That and death, or at least it used to be.
And people don't realize too, and that's another piece of like, people don't realize until they're either challenged to think it or they take the time to think about it, how the arts actually affects or is a part of their life. If you're a pastor, if you're a manager, if you're a teacher, if you're a if you're a mom or a dad,
Yeah.
you need to know how to
The arts
speak.
of persuasion.
Yeah,
Yes.
and be able to form a sentence and just breathe and slow down, and also take critique versus criticism. While they sound like the same word, and maybe Webster defines them very similarly. In the world of art, it is very, very different.
Very
And
different.
so, you know, learning that too is super important, at least from my perspective as like a director or, you know, somebody that might set choreography or
Yeah.
anything like that. Knowing the difference between I am not telling you you're wrong, I am
Yeah.
trying to help you,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at this as a bigger picture. And that's not just going to benefit the arts, that's going to benefit the world. So
Yeah.
support the arts. Don't be dumb.
I think even like going on an interview.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know, like the whether you're interviewing for a scholarship, you know,
Mhm.
you're a student interviewing for a scholarship, or it's a real job interview.
Yep.
Like having the confidence and poise to sit with people you don't know and carry a conversation and be able to speak eloquently or calm yourself down. Like I think, you know, there's
Here,
times where
my favorite
I'll-
story.
Oh.
Can I interject?
maybe.
You did.
I'm going
Yeah,
to.
you did.
My show now.
Jeez.
No, I was waiting for an opportunity, and then you kept going, and I missed my timing. No, but not many. There was a handful of times I've seen you get called for, like, obviously I'm the unpolished one of the relationship. I'm the whatever. I don't have that, what you're talking about. But I remember one specific time, and there were a handful of these, that we were at a chamber function, and somebody came up and said, hey, so-and-so's not here. I need you to step up and give a speech. With like literally 5 minutes of notice, you get up, give the speech, and after that, like 3 people came up and said, you sound so good. And you're like, oh, I hope that sounded okay. But that's the difference of what you're saying. I was just
Yeah.
interjecting to say, like, that's proof in the pudding of clearly there's a difference. I'm not used to stage lights. You are. And that gives you that ability
Yeah.
to do all the things you're saying. So I was just interjecting a real world example.
But I'll tell you, it's not so much about like the lights and everything else. There's a different piece of it, and it's really knowing, I think what the roots are is knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And that, you know, unfortunately, I'm not really going to get into that with 8 and 14-year-olds because they're not going to know. But as we get older and get more intense, you know, with
Life.
life and just education and that sort of thing, it's really figuring out who you are and what makes you unique and different from everybody else.
Yeah.
You know, I've been on plenty of Broadway calls and sat in a room with people that look exactly like me, and it's a mind game. And you're like,
Sure.
well, why am I here?
Right.
Everybody else is like me and they're better than me, and but no, it's figuring out what makes me different and knowing that there is that overwhelming sense of positivity that I can do it. And so I'm not speaking for Ashley that like that's what she's got or what, but at least for me in those moments, because I've had to just get up spur of the moment and everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, you're so good at that. And it's just like, I'm comfortable with at this point with like who I am, and I'm going to make a mistake. And I also have to know that that's okay.
Sure.
No big deal.
And so that if I ever, I
Probably
hope to
speaks
write a
the,
book.
like, the critiques you've had
Yeah.
growing up. You're like, okay, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Or yeah, you're right. I should fix that.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
And it's all these building blocks.
Yeah.
And as an actor or as a performer, you know, that's the first nugget that you really have to like hone to really take that next step of like artistic, I won't say perfection because it's never going to be perfect, but like honing that craft and really taking that next leap forward. And I love when like high school students especially or college students really start to find that. It's so cool. It's like, it's just really cool.
Very good. Well, there's your sales pitch for come enjoy the arts.
Or learn something new.
Or learn, yes,
Yeah.
Learn something
new.
all the above. So one question that I thought of while you were going through some of that. Pie in the sky, ideally, like what's one like big, you know, what do they call it? I forget what the acronym is. Big, hairy, audacious goal that I've heard in sales training for this space in the Avalon. If you had to dream big, what would be like the craziest? Oh my goodness, we just did that.
Gosh, that's I'm not normally speechless. I don't know that I know the answer to that yet, Derek.
Because you're already doing it, right?
No, it's not that I'm already doing
No,
it.
I know.
But I think as a community, and maybe Ashley can talk about this too, we're still figuring out who we are, and what we're wanting. And I hope through other community outlets and involvement that we can really, as Marysville, tap into who Marysville is and not, well, Dublin's doing this and Worthington's doing this and Columbus is doing this, and there's this like constant comparison. So, and I've only been here for going on 9 months, so I'm still trying to figure out like, well, what does Marysville want? Pie in the sky. Like I'd love for, a Broadway tour to stop in Marysville. It's never going to happen. We don't have the stage for it. We don't have the access for it, But pie in the sky is what you asked for. So sure, I'll get you the next closest thing and bring a Broadway artist to Marysville.
There we go.
And yeah, in just a few short weeks. Oh,
really?
And we'll continue doing that,
What's that?
So Brittany Mack is a friend of mine. I directed her in Ain't Misbehavin' in 2011, and her most recent turn on Broadway was in Six, the musical, which is about Henry VIII's wives, all of his wives, and she played the original Anne of Cleves. Started with the production in Chicago when it was there, transferred to Broadway, and she just blew up. I mean, you can put her little picture on all your Instagram stuff and all. I mean, she's everywhere. And so right now she's doing a new musical, I think it's in Indiana, about Nina Simone, that's kind of in a tryout phase. But Tony nominated, Drama Desk nominated. She's won Grammys, all this kind of stuff. And she's coming to Marysville.
Wow.
And we're doing a meet and greet option with her as well. And she wanted to, education super important to her too. So if you sign up to do the meet and greet, there is an upcharge for that. But 100% of the proceeds for the meet and greet are going towards creating a scholarship fund for the Avalon Arts Academy for those that might not be able to afford, the full tuition. So that's the 24th of May. And we've got a high school student that's going to be singing with her live on stage for so cool to sing with. Her name is Abby Skinner from Northwestern High School. It was one of those moments. It was like a Kelly Ripa moment where you call somebody and you give them this once in a lifetime opportunity. And she was crying, and it was just, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this. But then it happened, and you're just like, you just made this person's life so cool. So yeah, so that's happening. I think it's just bringing cool stuff to Marysville so that people don't have to leave here. That's my pie in the sky. You don't have to go anywhere else. Stay here.
The hypnotist that came here, I remember stopping to talk to him however long ago he was, like the first time I think he came. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm over at Lewis Center. I'm like, oh, like that's cool too. That like, yeah, he was really good. Yeah. But that it doesn't have to be like broad. Like there's cool people around here too is pretty neat. So having local talent, I think, is just as
that's so important,
fun, and like I guess it's a different avenue of you don't have to leave. Like there's stuff here.
Well, and I think it's finding that. I mean, it's finding that mix, right? Because even Broadway itself has found that they need to kind of fall into this kind of algorithm. So what I'm talking about is we need Hollywood named stars in Broadway shows to find financial success. I'm not saying that Eddie Redmayne is not fantastic as the MC in Cabaret, but there's a reason that he's in Cabaret as well, because we've got a name behind it, and he's got a huge following. It happens all the time. That's one of the reasons Chicago is still running on Broadway, because they throw Lisa Rinna in it. They throw Ariana Madix from Vanderpump Rules in it. They throw all these things, which is awesome because it's generating an audience. So we have to do that here too. Let's bring in some names.
To the world, yep.
And then hopefully we've captivated them, and they're going to come back with their kids and see Angels in the Outfield, because where else can you see Angels in the Outfield on the big screen, But two, I want to at some point write some kind of book. And one of the chapters, well, I think maybe the title might be, we'll see, is Make Every Day Your Broadway. Because everybody thinks I'm only going to be successful if I'm on Broadway. I'm only going to be successful if I'm the CEO of this company. I'm only going to be successful if I own my own business.
And then you get older and realize, it's not that great.
But if you start with this mentality of like, or if you wake up every day that it doesn't matter where I'm at, it could be right now for me. The Avalon right now is my Broadway. Like, I'm a producer of a Broadway theater. That's a change in my mindset that I don't need. Like, I have nowhere else to go. I'm already there. I'm at the top. Let's just ride it. Let's, So, and that speaks to the local talent. We've got to value those people. So we'll continue to find and pull them out of the woodwork and showcase them here at the Avalon too.
Very good. So since you've been here, since you're a recent transplant, I'm sure you could have gone other places. Why?
The Nashville area is where I came from. No.
So this is the Good Stuff podcast. So I was trying to circle back to the community and why. But yeah, having a context of where you came from would be helpful.
Yeah, so Nashville area, which is now like the #1 place for bachelorette parties. It surpassed Las Vegas very recently. It's the #1 growing like city in the nation.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that was like 6 years ago.
When I moved there, now it's almost going on 16 years ago, it was lovely. It was just exactly what I wanted. But, many reasons of movement and coming here to Ohio. But I was ready for a change, community-wise too. Just too big, too much. I mean, talk about inflation. Just like pricing out everything, the charm, all of that just going. Every country music star needs to open their own bar now, and so all of like those cool dive mom and pop places are just gone. And I didn't love that. So yeah, I actually didn't settle in Marysville because there's not a ton of housing availability in Marysville.
Gotta go there, don't you?
Sorry.
Okay, so number one thing you appreciate about Marysville since being here for 8 months.
8 years.
8
It feels
years.
like 8 years. Truly. And I think some people think, oh God, he's been here forever. He should know everybody and know how to do everything.
And everything's
I'm like,
fixed.
Nah, I'm still like struggling. What do I love most about Marysville? That's your question? Is that your question?
Yeah.
God. I think it's the people that I've met and get to work with. Everybody seems to really have a good heart and want what's best for, I think, each other, but for the town as a whole. I haven't really met
Too many grumpy old men.
many
Just me.
many people that I don't need to see anymore. I'm not going to say none, but the people.
Percentages hold true everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. National averages.
That's right. So people's always the cop-out answer. Is there anything
it?
else? Anytime anybody leaves a job, what do they say they miss the most?
The pay?
People. He set you up.
I know he tried to, but like,
Yeah, right? You're like,
I have never heard anybody have that answer, so that's a new one for me.
you're welcome.
not leave work indefinitely.
Yeah. Okay.
I like the Mire. That's a cool place. I've never experienced one of those.
Callie likes that place too.
They know. Well, they don't know her. They know Lulu by name. Some of them.
Do they? Well,
The
you
one.
let her fall out of a grocery cart. I bet they do. They thought they were going to get sued.
I've left my phone there a handful of times. That was the best. The other day, she called. Hey, my husband left his phone there, and she answered, and oh, it's here. Okay. And then I got there to pick it up, and she said, somebody else called, so I answered it. They were a little confused why she answered it Marysville Meyer. It's probably, we weren't expecting my phone to be Marysville Meyer. So, yes, we go to Meyer on a regular basis. I agree. Good place.
And I also love the, since my answer was a cop-out, the beautification of the Uptown area. I think they do a really good job and put some good plans together with, like, the money that they spend on the baskets and the plants and just making it a really attractive place to want to spend some time. A lot of times that's the last piece in a plan for a downtown or an uptown, and it seemed to be some forward thinking there. So I appreciate that from an aesthetic standpoint.
Yeah.
Good. And no, people isn't the cop-out answer. That's the reason for everything, but that's the easy answer. But that you said people are, good people and here to help. That's the.
I truly do think that. I think that there's some really good eggs here.
Good roots.
Yep,
Calls
good
that.
roots.
Cool. Okay, so one of the questions we like to ask, or at least I like to ask, if you were to spotlight somebody else, another organization, another something in town related to the Avalon and the arts and whatnot,
Oh gosh.
/ maybe we should invite them on the podcast to talk to them. Who might you throw out?
Well, I don't know who else you've talked to.
Let's see.
Let's see. Well, we're finding some ways to work with the Union County Board of Developmental Disabilities. And I don't know that you've spoken with them.
I have not, but I've had a few of them. I think they said tentatively July, so they're on the schedule. So great minds think alike.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We are working with them to figure out ways to really encourage those that they serve to feel that there are options for them in our community. So you're helping us with Friday Nights Uptown. We're going to stream those live here.
Right here on the big screen.
Yep, on the big screen. For those that, it's just too much to be in a crowd of thousands of people or hundreds of people, whatever it is.
Or if you're just a grumpy old man like me and you don't want to.
For sure.
Sit in the air conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to be hot, or, it's a rain or shine event and there's only so much room under that pavilion if it's raining.
Yeah.
You can come here. Even those that may need a little bit more accessibility. So we'll be doing that. But I think a lot of people kind of know the Board of DD, or, people use this a lot, I've heard. But do people actually know what they're doing and all that they encompass? So I would say that one. We're finding ways to partner with the Humane Society as well. Partly because I love animals, and a lot of people love animals, and sometimes people love animals more than the arts. So if I can find a way to bring them together, that's kind of smart.
Yeah.
So we love them.
Pets, vets, and kids. That's what I say.
Ooh.
People always pay. They will always support pets, vets, and kids.
Pets, vets, and kids.
Yeah.
Wow. That's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Lavana has been on here.
Actually,
Lavana has not.
We're on phone tag, so I think she said maybe she said July too. But she said she needed a slot, so she'll be coming up soon.
I think Impact Station and Impact 60 do a lot of good
Yeah.
for a lot of nonprofits in town, and regardless of the nonprofit, we need the public support. So.
All right. Anything else? So I just I got a new camera, so sorry for the technical difficulties again. Working on it.
It's all right. It's great. It's a little process.
Beautiful. So, anything else to add? So probably the number one thing coming up at the Avalon to encourage people to come to. What would that be?
Oh, there can't be a number one. We've got a lot of stuff. So Brittany Mack we talked about. After that, the day after, we've got a Chicago tribute band called Brass Metropolis. They're coming. And they're awesome. So if you love that Chicago 1970s kind of funk music, come and see them. Let's see. Stella Cole was here in December, and we sold out her concert for the holidays with a waiting list. But she's coming back in June on a Sunday.
Is this the Instagram, TikTok famous? Yes. Because,
I tried to convince you.
She tried to convince me, and then I saw it. I was like, hey, look at this. She said, yeah, remember I told you? I had no idea. Yeah.
Well, tickets are on sale, and they're already going quickly because we should just be the Stella Cole Theater for arts and culture, because her tickets sell really quickly. I mean, she's in Milan right now singing. She travels all over the world singing, and coming to Marysville. And
awesome.
People asked the first time, why did you come to Marysville, Ohio? And she was like, because they asked me. So, 2 shows on that Sunday, 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock. We've got, the film series coming up. June will be mostly like our Pride series. So we're showing Strange World, the Disney film.
Yeah.
And we're also doing, that's our last Spanish offering for the summer. So some of our animated films, we're showing them in Spanish as well for our Spanish-speaking community, or really even those that are like taking Spanish in high school or whatever. Come and see it on the big screen in Spanish. And then we're showing Hairspray, the newer movie with Zac Efron and them. And then we're showing one of my favorite movies of all time, The Birdcage, with Nathan Lane and Robin Williams for the end of the month. So that'll be super fun. I'm trying to think what else is coming up.
I mean, I said one, and that's like 8. So
I know there's tons of stuff. I mean, it's
here. I'll just put the website up here, and you can look at that.
The Avalon Theater, spelled the fancy way.org.
Spelled the fancy way. Pinkies up. You know, like drinking tea. Pinkies up, or
that.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Well, I've had plenty of technical difficulties and forget half of the stuff I try to say and remind you to do things and subscribe and all of that. But engage, subscribe, check out the newsletter, whatever it is. And if you know somebody that we should talk to, we'd love to know who that is. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts. Thanks for joining our community and being passionate about taking care of the community.
Thank you, guys. And thanks for welcoming me, Ashley. It means a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Of course. Thank you. Hope to see you at a show soon.